Okay, yeah. See, okay, this thing I've been talking about. Well, one of the events I talked about in the earlier video. What happened? The Davidians. I posted up on the Facebook. I asked you. I was said, if did the media sees this or whatever, please don't air this thing you're going to show on the Davidians. It's not. I mean, it's made with your crimes of the century thing, and it's going to be all weird and distorted, and you know that figures in our game. Then why would they show it? Okay, they're showing it right now. Actually, you know, tasting about this thing, right? But see, this is what they do to everyone who the internal security forces attack, including did this to Seattle. They do it everywhere. Did it to these people in the Davidians. And by the way, they burn children to death there. It's not a joke. Okay. They just showed just like 2 seconds of this thing. If you're watching it or something, let me explain something. They have this is how things are covered up. Whether or not you know what happened to the Davidians, or you know what happened somewhere else about something else like this, where people were killed or attacked when we went under like this new situation we're under. They sort of got him Jim Kavanaugh, he's from the FBI or the ATF. They're both there with stuff rented from the military to attack these people. The military. Let me explain just a clip of it shows you how with the kind of lies the media show. I'm sure this was made at the time. They show a clip of the testimony. They're not the whole trial is sort of a sham. By the way, the protesters at the trial, they brought the same signs they brought to the trial of the Randy Weaver trial. It says ATF shot first. Okay. They brought the same signs. By the way, the ATF, see, in some areas of our country, like, this stuff is it's done by, if you're not familiar with the ATF, I mean, it's like the FBI, it's like one of these the groups like that. It's just that they're more active, I think, in rural areas. These maybe, but like they're not active in the place in New York or Seattle that much because of there aren't as many like firearm tobacco issues or whatever. This thing they showed this guy, he's from the ATF, the FBI. They show his testimony. In front of Congress. It went on for hours. I mean, the idea they just showed this, and what he said is that first of all, they're depicting it that federal troops that rented things from our military and SWAT teams and tear gas, that somehow like they were he's saying like always they were under fire, or as though they were being outmanned, or they were Well, no, that's not accurate at all. But they're depicting it like as though the people that were coming after are very dangerous. Okay, he's very emotional testimony. Well, one of his men got killed, but I mean but he's also saying that they wanted to get Tom Schneider, this guy Tim Schneider, on the phone with the negotiator. They said because he was Vernon Howe's top lieutenant. Okay. This is the whole thing they do with this and with everything. Play a language game. Just goes back to what I said about Seattle, calling them anarchists. Okay, what they do is they militarize the whole situation. There were children in there. The whole thing was they were all peaceful in there. Okay, they were. It's a spiritual community. Okay, what he says. Vernon Howe didn't have a lieutenant. Okay, he's also saying they were attacking a compound bunker lieutenant. I'll tell you what they're calling a compound. It was the church basement. They're calling they were in a compound. They're calling a guy who was just a member of the spiritual community, had more of like he was an instructor there or something, as opposed to one of the people who came there to learn. They're calling him a lieutenant. Okay, that's just 2 seconds of this thing they're showing on the Davidians. It's so distorted, but I bet it was made at the time. And I'll tell you something else. This is the only time I've heard of this happening in our era, but I think they made it the actual. So they haven't done this since the 50s. Okay, they knew what they did, and they knew they tear gas kids. By the way, there aren't gas masks that can fit a kid, so you can see them barfing and crying. You'd imagine it. There aren't gas masks to fit a kid, and they didn't have any gas masks in there. But here's the thing. To burn children to death. That's what happened there, okay? They probably made this at the time, but they also made something else at the time to get to cover this whole thing up that they did. Okay, they actually, it's not funny, but I mean it's okay. You don't know whether to laugh or cry about something like this. That the ATF actually produced a low budget like TV movie about it. That's ridiculous. Which is ridiculous. I mean, to depict it is like totally unreal. Shows the Davidians coming out with guns and shooting these like fleeing federal officers. I mean, it's like a cartoon. I mean, they have to be showing this. I mean, look, being that we have a game and everything, and certainly the Davidian thing figures in our game. I've mentioned on my Facebook page, R.I.P. Wayne Martin, first African American graduate of Harvard Divinity School, who was there. He's one of the reasons that some people got attracted to go there. By the way, while they're telling you things like that have something to do with the races, well, there were all different kinds of types of people living there. Certainly a lot of African Americans, okay, and people from all over the world and stuff like that. Just a clip of this. I mean, there's such look. They said before they were killed in these videos that the FBI asked them to, they said, "Well, talk about yourselves," and they thought the videos would be like a bunch of, maybe they'll say something that makes them sound like fanatics. No, they're scared in a basement, okay. And they said, look, we don't control this country anymore. They do. And they can tell all the lies they want. And they said, before you believe anything you hear on our media about anything, they said, or about us, ask yourself if you're, the same thing with people who say, oh, yeah, the people in Seattle are a bunch of anarchists, whatever. She said something in the video. She said, look, what do you do with your life every day? Is it something God approves of? Like, before you just jump to conclusions about people that are being killed but by whatever the hell's happening, they militarize their country because they know people are going to be protesting when they find out what's happening. See, what do you do with your life every day before you judge or jump to conclusions? Like, a perverse media. I mean, this is the kind of infuriating, I don't know what kind of video this is, but just a clip of it. Thank God I was signaled to go over to my TV. I mean, they don't watch it if you're watching it.